Hi, my name is Sydney Roth, and I'll be leading you through a 75-minute yin practice today. Go ahead and grab a blanket. If you have blocks, grab them, and even some bolsters, if you have them, are really great. We'll just take a few deep breaths in and start out with a round of Om. So sit up tall, maybe coming to Sukhasana or any other seat that you find comfortable. Stack your shoulders over your hips. Take a deep breath in, sigh it out. One more time, deep breath in. Sigh it out. Bring your hands to heart center and inhale for Om. Om. Take a moment to just notice your breath here. And gently flutter your eyes open. We'll move into butterfly first. So with this, just bring the soles of your feet to touch and let your knees come out to the side. You have the option of no blocks, no props, nothing. You can just walk your hands forward and fold. If you want to get a little more cozy, then you have the option of grabbing your blanket, unraveling it a little bit, and then rolling it up kind of like a tube like this, and then I'm going to put that on top of my feet and then tuck the edges under my ankles, just for a little cushion. I'm going to grab a block next and put it right in front of my feet, and then I'm going to grab a bolster as well. And I'm going to create a bridge to fall onto. Now, this doesn't seem quite high enough for me yet, so I'm going to stack another block underneath. And so however tall you want yours, just get your props comfortable and then begin to fold in. You can even hug your bolster. Take a few breaths to begin to let go in this pose. Take a moment to scan your body here. Notice the space between your eyebrows. Let go of any tension you're holding there. Relax your tongue away from the roof of your mouth. Unclench your jaw. Let your neck be long, adjusting your posture if you need to. Your shoulders relax down and away from your ears. With each exhale, let your chest be a little heavier onto your bolster. Notice that space in your lower back that might be feeling a stretch right now. Remind yourself it's okay to relax here. Notice if your glutes feel tight. And give yourself permission to relax. Notice if your legs feel tight, if you're holding them up. With each exhale, give yourself a little more permission to relax. whatever's coming up for you here, just be with it. Any emotion, any feeling. You're safe just as exactly as you are. You have about 1 more minute here. Begin to deepen your breath. With each inhale, get a little taller. Come all the way up. Take a few breaths here. Gently begin to move any props you used off to the side, blocks, bolsters, even that little blanket. And then extend your legs long and plant your hands right behind your hips and just flex and point a few times. Maybe roll your ankle left and right. And then lift back up. Extend your left leg out to the side. And then the right sole of your foot can come to your left inner thigh. And if you have sensitive heels like I do, you can just grab a blanket and then slide that up under your leg for a little bit of support. So it's a little more cushioned. You can even roll the end and slide that under your knee. So you're nice and comfy. And then if you'd like to grab blocks and a bolster and set up a bridge here, you can. We're going to be folding toward our left leg. I actually like to do it no props, but that's totally up to you. Just reach your arms up overhead. As you exhale, turn to your left and fold forward. As you're falling into this pose, notice how the back of your left leg feels. You might feel a bit of intensity, and we don't want to push ourselves so hard that we're miserable and we can't hold it. Maybe a 3 or 4 out of the intensity scale on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you're struggling to stay in the posture, just come up out of it a little bit. Give yourself a little breathing room. You have time. We hold these postures for a long time, and over time, our bodies soften into them, so we don't have to force it. We've got about 1 more minute here. And take a deep breath in, sigh it out. Begin to inch your arms and your hands back, slowly lifting your torso up. And take your time coming out of this. When you get all the way up, take a breath or two just with a tall spine. And then plant your right hand behind your right hip. Push into your right hand and your right shin. And find stargazer, lifting your left fingertips up to the sky. Reach your left arm up and back. And then whenever you're done, you can sit back down. Take a breath. And we'll move to the other side. So right leg will be long. If you want to move your blanket over to the right side, go ahead and do so. Maybe rolling up the edge underneath your knee. Left sole of your foot to the right inner thigh. And then you just reach your arms up overhead, turn to your right leg and fold. Again, if you used props on the other side, you can do it this side, maybe a block and a bolster for support. That's totally a great option. But whatever you choose as you fold in, just gently begin to let go in this pose. Notice the sensations you feel on the back of your leg. Ease in. With each breath, ease gently more. You're about halfway there. And take just a couple more breaths. And then as you inhale, lengthen your spine, slowly walk your hands up. When you come up to a tall spine, give yourself a moment to settle in, take a breath. And then begin to place your left hand behind your left hip. Push into your left hand, your left shin. Rise up for stargazer, straightening out your right leg. Right arm reaches up and back. Really expanding through the entire front of your body. Once you feel like you've had enough, you can sit back down. And then begin to send both legs out in front of you. And we'll do a twist here. So begin to bend your left knee, plant your left hand into the, or sorry, left foot into the mat, and you'll want your blocks as well. So make sure you can reach those. So you'll bend your left knee, plant your left foot into the mat, and then we'll be twisting towards the left. So I think it feels really nice to have somewhere to prop my elbow. So I'm going to stack my blocks, one on the lowest and then one on the highest, just so I have a place to put my elbow here. That's totally optional, and you may need to adjust heights to get it just right for your elbow if you choose to do that. And then just turn towards your left leg. You can have your hands grasp. You could rest your chin in your hand. Whatever feels good to you, just get comfortable. Making sure your spine is long and you're stacking your shoulders kind of over your hip region still, not leaning super far forward or back. Just stacking so that we don't have to work to hold ourselves up. If thoughts are clouding your mind, try to notice the thoughts, but not get caught up in solving any big problems or following any trails of thoughts right now. Give yourself this time to be present. Notice the sensations in your hips, your back, your legs, and notice your breath. Notice if your right hip is tensing up here. Give yourself permission to relax. You have about 1 more minute here. Begin to release, come to center, move your blocks off to the side, extend your left leg long, maybe gently fold forward, kind of roll around, move a little bit. And then we'll move into the other side. So you can bend your right knee, plant your right foot. If you're just planting your hand on the mat, go right into it. Otherwise, grab your blocks, stack them beside your right hip, and then bring your right elbow to them. And then your left hand might come underneath your chin or meet your right hand, and left elbow might rest on your right knee. Your gaze can be over your right shoulder. You could have your eyes closed, whatever feels good to you here. You're about halfway there. Begin to unwind, coming to center. Extend your right leg long. Send your feet side to side, point and flex a few times. Move around a little bit. And then plant your feet into the mat. Plant your hands behind you, fingertips facing forward. And just take a quick altar pose, reverse tabletop, lifting up. You can keep your chin tucked in slightly as if you had a piece of fruit under your chin. Or if it feels good for you, you can drop your head back. And then exhale, begin to lower down, letting your hips come back to the mat. And then we'll move into our forward fold caterpillar. So the blanket that you have is a really great option for rolling up and placing under your knees for a little bit of support. Alternatively, if you have a bolster you want to use, I have a little tiny bolster here that feels really nice under my knees, so I'm going to use that. But anything you want to put under your knees to make it a little softer, feel free to do that. You can also grab a bolster for on top of your lap and maybe a block between your ankles. And then as you fold forward, you can hug onto your bolster. You can always add another block for height if you need to, and get it just right. And just give yourself a few breaths to really fall into this, just folding straight forward. As you hold this pose, you may notice that you're getting more and more comfortable and you want to feel a little bit more sensation over time. So feel free to adjust your props, removing them as needed, so that you can meet your support level, whatever that is. You're about halfway there. And take a few deep breaths here. And then with each inhale, lift up a little bit more, walking your hands back. Until you lift all the way up. And then you can move any props that you have off to the side. Plant your hands behind your hips. Just plant your feet, bend your knees, and just send your knees side to side. After a little bit of movement, you can move any remaining props off to the side, roll to your hands and knees, and we're going to move into child's pose next. And so with child's pose, if you like, you can always bring a bolster up underneath you. You'll bring your big toes to touch, widen your knees, and then you can lower your chest down. If you like the bolster there, keep it. Otherwise, you can move it off to the side and just lower your chest down to the mat. Forehead comes down. You can also bring your forehead to a block. And if you notice that there's a lot of space between your hips and your heels, you might even want to roll up a blanket and slide that behind your knees so that when you send your hips back towards your heels, there's a little bit of support. So there are a lot of options. I prefer child's pose with no props, so I'm just going to go right into it. Big toes touching, knees wide, forehead down. With each exhale, let your heart melt a little bit closer to the earth. If you have something that you're holding on to and you want to release, you can turn your palms upward as an act of surrendering whatever you're holding on to, physically, emotionally. Surrendering and just letting yourself be in this pose. You're about halfway there. Keep returning to your breath when you're having trouble staying in this present moment. Begin to deepen your breath here. And slowly slide your hands back. Bring them up under your shoulders. And then take your time, pushing up to tabletop, bringing your knees under your hips, hands under your shoulders. And then your tabletop, take a few cat-cows. So as you inhale, drop your belly, lift your heart up. Exhale, curve your spine. Inhale to cow, tailbone lifts. Exhale, cat, really pushing into the floor, lifting up, curving through your back. Take 2 or 3 more, moving on your own breath. Then come to a neutral spine. For our next pose, we will be coming to half bow tie. So you'll need either a block or a bolster at the top of your mat to rest your forehead on. So you'll lay all the way on your belly and then cross your left arm under your right shoulder. So you're kind of creating a crisscross with your arms. Then bring a block or bolster up under your forehead and rest in, right arm's reaching forward. You've got about 1 more minute here. Take a deep breath in, slide your right hand under your right shoulder. Begin to unwind, peeling your left arm out to the side, maybe move it around a little bit. And then plant your your left hand under your left shoulder. You can thread your right hand through and just move right into the other side. Forehead back to the block, left fingertips reach up, and you just have your right palm facing up here. Notice if you're holding on to tension in your feet and be intentional about releasing that. Take a breath in as you exhale, release your hips heavy into the mat. On your next inhale, begin to slide your left arm back. Peel your right arm out from underneath you. Move it around a little bit, maybe making some circles. And then slide both hands up under your shoulders and push up to tabletop. Actually move into puppy pose next. And so keeping your hips over your knees, begin to walk your hands forward, bringing your forehead to the mat or a block. And this is sometimes called heart melting pose, which is really beautiful to visualize your heart melting towards the earth. Take just a few more cycles of breath here. Begin to slide your elbows back, bringing them under your shoulders. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Sit back on your heels. Take a breath, taking your time, giving yourself a moment to come out of this pose. And then swing your legs around and come to a seat. We'll move into a reclined butterfly. And so I'm going to use a bolster under my back for this, but that's totally optional. You can just lay straight on your back. But if you're using a bolster, bring it right to the edge of your seat, so right up on your sacrum. And then bring the soles of your feet to touch. Let your knees come wide. I'm going to unravel my blanket so I can curl up in it. That's also optional. And then bring your arms or your blanket up over your arms if you have it, and begin to lay all the way back on your bolster. Letting your head be heavy, let your arms come wide. And let the entire back side of your body feel heavy and rooted into the mat. And let your upper side of your body feel light as a feather. Notice if your jaw's clenched here. You have about 1 more minute here. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your elbows up underneath your shoulders. Gently push your way up to a seat. And you can extend your legs long. Maybe point and flex a few times and move the bolster out from underneath you. And then for our final pose, we'll be moving all the way on the mat. So lay all the way back. You don't need any props for this one, but you'll reach your arms up overhead and just walk your hands and your feet over to the left. Cross your right ankle over your left and reach your arms up over past the top left corner of your mat. So you're creating a banana shape with your body. Take just a couple more breaths here. And then begin to come to center, uncrossing your legs. Let your arms come down by your side. Point and flex your feet a few times. You can even plant your feet, send your knees side to side if that feels good. After a little bit of movement, extend your legs again, reach your arms up overhead, begin to walk your hands and feet over to the right, creating a banana shape on the right side of your mat. You can cross your left ankle over your right, really expanding through the entire side of your left body. You have about 1 more minute here. And begin to deepen your breath. Slowly uncross your ankles, walk your feet back to center, let your arms come down by your side. Take any movement that you'd like to take. If you want to plant your feet, windshield wipe your knees side to side, feel free to do that. You could even hug your knees into your chest, give them a squeeze. Anything that feels good to you, feel free to take that movement. And then whenever you're done, we'll move into our final Shavasana. So you can use any props that are comfortable to you or no props at all and just lay on your mat with your legs and arms wide. I'm going to grab a bolster under my knees, put a blanket on top of myself, and an eye pillow. So whatever props you want, grab them and then just begin to lay back. Notice your breath. Take a deep breath in. Sigh it out and give yourself this permission to fully relax. I'll let you know when it's time to come out of it. Begin to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and your toes. Shake your head side to side. Reach your arms up overhead. Take a nice long stretch. Roll your ankles and your wrists. And then step your feet to the mat. Gently roll to one side. Make your way up to a seat. And then find a comfortable seat, whether that's Sukhasana or any other seat. Bring your hands to heart center. We'll close our practice with one round of Om. Take a deep breath in for Om. Om. The light in me sees, honors, and respects the light in you. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today. Namaste.